Okay, welcome. This is week 4. Actually, we are in week 4 of this self-mastery course. And it's called self-mastery for a reason. This is really an opportunity for you to learn all the things about you, everything there is to know about how you tick, what turns you on, what gets you fired up, what triggers you, what activates you, what your strengths are, what your superpowers are, your blind spots, your shadow, your light, all of it, everything, all things you. And this is such an important conversation today, specifically because we're talking about the emotional body. Now, if you remember your 4 bodies, okay? And I know that this can seem a little foreign in the beginning, but I want you to just give yourself permission to lean in. You're a physical body, right? We know that, we see that, tangible physical body. You're your mental body, your mind. And that one can feel like who you are often because it just takes over. And we talked about the subconscious last week. We talked about this programming, this automatic default that's literally running your life. You think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, 90% are the same as yesterday. So what you're thinking about today, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. So what does that tell us? We're programmed, and if we want to change our lives, we have to change the quality of our thoughts. Period. Period. And sure, there are all these other things that complicate that, but the truth is you can do it. It's possible. There's a process called SNAP that we went through last week. I dropped that in the note or in the chat in Instagram. So if you want more detail there, please find that. And then we also have an emotional body, which we're going to talk about today. This is the subtle body. For men, you've been told to shut that off. You don't get to feel. You can be angry and pissed and mad, and that's about it. But anything that feels sensitive, soft, that's not okay. You need to, pull your shit together and toughen up. And for women, it's been you feel all of the feelings, but if you feel those same feelings that men feel, you're crazy. She's out of control. She's crazy. But women can be, overly emotional or overly sensitive or dramatic, right? So we've just been done such a disservice by our culture, by our community around emotions. We've been taught from a really young age that there were good ones and bad ones, some that are favorable, some that aren't, and that we need to feel good and we need to feel happy and we need to feel positive and we need to feel excited and joyful. And anything else is wrong and bad. And so we go in the dark, we shame those feelings, we push them down, and we don't allow ourselves to feel them. And what happens, you can quote me, but I am not a doctor. What happens is that when you do not allow yourself to feel, you will store that energy in your body, in the cells of your body, you will store that emotion, and it will eventually manifest itself as dis-ease in the body. Dis-ease, disease, shows up lots of different ways. It can show up as weight. If you can't lose weight, check in on your emotions. What needs to come out? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to feel so you can heal it and let it go? The Body Keeps the Score is a great book. If you haven't heard of The Body Keeps the Score, I recommend you dive in. That book talks a lot about how we store, how we hold on to feelings and emotions, and they don't release unless we give them permission. And you have to feel safe to do that. So one thing I'm really good at is creating safety and a safe container and space to do that so that we can heal and we can free ourselves from trapped emotions and pain that has been lingering for far too long. And when we were little, we had childhood experiences where it just didn't feel safe to process and feel some of those things. But here we are adults and we're safe now and we can do that. And so as we learn and we give ourselves permission to feel all of it, no right, no wrong, no good, no bad emotion. Dr. Brene Brown says there's 82 emotions. 82. I mean, I think that most of us count on two hands how many emotions we feel like there are. And if you're really advanced, you might be in the 20s or 30s, but 82. So when you think about that and you start to get really dialed in and clear on what is this emotion, and you break anxiety down, or you break anger down into a more descriptive, accurate emotion, then you can navigate that because you're not overwhelmed. So we're going to talk about that more today. You can tell I'm super, super lit up about this, and it gets me excited because, again, when you learn about the emotional body, you can become emotionally resilient. And when you can become emotionally resilient, you start to connect the dots between how your thoughts are making you feel, or how your feelings are creating your thoughts. And so again, you become the master of you. You become the master of your emotions, you become the master of your mind, and then you really become more empowered in a way. Instead of becoming the victim of what's happening to you, you can really take charge of your life. So thank you for being here. We've had enough time in this to be in, middle end of February, and I want you to take an opportunity to just notice, how's your self-mastery daily practice? Maybe you've slipped a little bit. Maybe you've gotten a curveball in your life and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm not as motivated, or it's not as easy as it was, or I just need to recommit. Don't wait till Monday. Don't wait till Monday. Don't wait until tomorrow. The fastest way you will change your habits in your life is by auto-correcting or self-correcting the moment you realize I'm kind of off track. When you're here and you wait until you get way over here, it's a lot harder to come back. But if you can just notice, you know what? I expected the curveball to come. I expected sick kids. I expected travel. I expected a work project to come up. I expected those old habits to creep back in because they're comfortable. And when you can expect it, you get out of and release your shame and guilt cycle. I want you to hear me when I say that again. When you expect the old habit to creep back in, you don't allow yourself to get in that shame and guilt cycle of, oh, here I am again. This always happens. I never stick to my word. I always quit. I never finish what I said I'm going to. That is a waste of your time. Waste of your time. Don't do it. Just expect it. Here's the opportunity. It's here. Okay. Let me autocorrect. Let me self-correct. Let me get back on course. I don't have to wait for another day. I don't have to wait until in the morning. I don't have to wait until Monday. We lose a lot of days. We lose a lot of time by doing that. Don't do it. Be in the process. Every moment, every day, when you notice, just get back on. It's like getting back on the horse, okay? So before we go any further, I want to give you an opportunity to drop in. So when you're ready, I invite you to put down anything that you're holding, whether it's a pen, whether it's, if you're kind of multitasking, doing multiple things at the same time while you're tuning in and listening today. Just let's take 5 minutes to just be here, be present, give yourself permission. Whatever you're doing, you can come back to it. Whatever thoughts you're having, you'll come back to those as well. But let's just take the next few minutes to drop in. I invite you to close your eyes and get still. Get really still. Take a deep breath in, inhaling through your nose, exhaling out of your mouth, an audible. We're going to do that 3 times. I want you to inhale, big, deep breath through your nose. Take the biggest inhale you have today. And when you exhale, I want you to H-A-ha. Let it out. Open your mouth. Stick out your tongue one more time. As you're inhaling, you're expanding the back body and the ribs and the lungs. And as you're exhaling, you're squeezing out any old stagnant air. You're just cleansing your breath. You're recycling and letting go of that old breath. You're breathing in new air, fresh energy. The breath is powerful. Use it to fuel you and cleanse you. Now on the next exhale, I want you to drop your shoulders away from your ears, and I want you to elongate your spine, feeling your sits bones or your feet rooted on the ground, solid. I want you to feel grounded. I want you to feel really deeply rooted in. It's been a while, we're in the winter, and we haven't had our feet on the ground, on the earth. Might be feeling a little disconnected, so I want you to ground in and ground into Mother Earth, the energy of foundational frequency, solid foundation, rooted. Feel that connection. And now I want you to bring all your attention to the crown of your head and feel the connection to the Creator, to source energy, light, enlightenment, clarity. Notice the difference of how that feels to being grounded. On the next inhale, I want you to do a scan of your physical body from the top of your head all the way down your arms to your fingertips and to your toes. And as you scan your physical body, I want you to become aware. How does my body feel? Notice any stiffness, any pain, any tension in your body, wherever it might be. Just notice, taking an inventory of your physical body. And on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you say you feel physically today, in this moment right now? No pain is 10. 0, you're feeling uncomfortable, hard to stay still, a lot of energy or a lot of discomfort in your body. Now take another big inhale and bring your attention to your mind. All your attention to your mind, the space between your two ears. And notice what's going on in your mind in this moment. If you have a lot of racing thoughts, you're having a hard time being here, distracted, you're at a 0 or closer to a 0. And if there are no thoughts, can literally just like imagine clouds going by, or maybe you're hypnotized by my voice, you would be at a 10. But just notice on a scale of 0 to 10, where's your mind right now? How busy or how quiet is it on a scale of 0 to 10? 0, lots of racing thoughts. 10, very quiet. No judgment, just observing here. And now pay attention to your emotional body. This is your subtle body. You might feel this in your heart, but you might feel it throughout the subtle body. It's deeper, not on the surface, but internal. Notice how you're feeling today emotionally. Now, 0 would be that you're not feeling at all. You're pretty numbed out, disconnected from your emotions. And a 10 would be that you're feeling a lot. And feeling a lot might feel like anxiety or overwhelm or anger. Might feel like joy and happiness, but it's intense. There's a lot of emotion going on. So 10 is feeling a lot, and 0 is not feeling at all. So find your number for your emotional check-in today. Now I invite you to now move to your spiritual body, which can be found in your belly. Maybe it's just under your ribs and your solar plexus. Where is your spiritual connection? See if you can tune in. Spiritual body's quiet. There's a whisper. It's your intuition. It's your inner knowing. And see how connected or disconnected you are from your spiritual intuition. A 0 would be that it's turned off. You really can't hear. It's very quiet, maybe silent. And a 10 would be that that volume's pretty loud. You're hearing your intuition. Just listen. Now we're going to disconnect from the four bodies, and I want you to think about your social circles, your relationships. And become aware of how connected or disconnected you are in your relationships. The 0 would be that you're kind of a recluse, hibernating, not really feeling connected to others. And a 10 would be that you're really connected. In fact, these relationships are nourishing you and inspiring you, filling you up. Notice where you are socially today. And I invite you to take another big, deep breath in, and on the exhale, I want you to just let it all go. And when you blink open your eyes, go ahead and take an inventory of how are you feeling physically, mentally, emotional, spiritual, and social. And those are in the chat. So if you need to reference that. So just notice I'm writing down, where are you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and socially today, right now. On February 19th, and remember, you are this owl energy. You are this observer of you. We are researching, we are investigating what are all things you. And what we're going to start to do here as you record this, as you write it down, we're going to start to look at patterns. We're going to start to look at behavior. We're going to start to look at how your life and circumstances affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and then how you can navigate and what tools you can use to shift and change. So I'm ready for you to drop those in the chat, and I want to hear some wins. I want you to focus on your highest number first. This is great. Thank you, Kristen and Zadra and Annie, for dropping that in the chat. Let's look at some of these wins. Thank you, Mary. This is great. Love seeing all these. Awesome. And when you're ready, you can just unmute yourself, but I want to hear your win. Just took a little screenshot of that, y'all. I wanted to be able to come back and see what those numbers are. Thank you for sharing. Who wants to share a win?
I'll share.
Great, Annie.
My highest number is 10, but it always feels wrong, right? That my high emotions are a win because we're programmed to just shut those down. So it's something to get over, right? And practice. But I feel highly emotional today, feeling a lot. And I've noticed that I feel more emotional when the moon is in Scorpio, which it is. And that one always gets me. So
Thank you, Annie, for sharing. Yeah, isn't that this is this is why I love astrology. And we have a portion of self-mastery called Know Yourself, and we're gonna get into, strengths and human design and Enneagram and all of these different assessments that I love and use in a process called Know Yourself. And astrology is part of it, because the more you understand yourself, right? It's like you start to see patterns, you start to see things. And Annie's discovered that, wow, when the moon's in Scorpio, I am highly emotional. So Annie, maybe some reflection back to you is like, maybe it's not the best time, depending on what your human design is, to make decisions, to make big decisions in your life. If you can see that, like, I'm really highly emotional, probably not the best time for me to be making big decisions. I'm just going to let myself sit with this and be with it and stay curious and ask, like, what is this and what's up for me right now? Instead of trying to, create some action with those emotions. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, this is a little different. I've had people say often to me, wait a second, Kate, you want us to be feeling a lot? You want me to be having all these big emotions? The answer is yes, because we have been brought up in a world where it wasn't okay to feel. So as we're turning on these emotions and we're allowing ourselves to feel, sometimes it can feel like a lot. It's like, whoa, this is a lot. And because of that, you'll notice that when emotions are high, I want you to be aware of what you go to grab. How do you want to soothe yourself? A lot of people do it with food. Okay. A lot of people do it with substances. I don't like the way this feels. I want to change this. I want to change my state of how I feel right now. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't like feeling a lot. But what happens is when you can just breathe through that for 60 seconds, 60 seconds, just breathe through it. If you still decide after 60 seconds to go do that thing that you were going to do to soothe, that's okay. But if you allow yourself for 60 seconds to feel it, talk about feeling empowered. That's a huge one. 60 seconds to just let yourself sit in it like, gosh, this feels uncomfortable. Wow, what is happening in my body? Like, I am freaking out right now. It's really empowering. And this course is to empower you. Empower you. So let yourself feel it. It's okay. Maybe you just need to cry and move through it and you feel better. Maybe you just need to feel excited and joyful and happy because you finally got the thing you've been working so hard for. And then we just cruise right through it. Oh, yep, did that thing. Okay, next. Pause. Let yourself feel it. It's okay. And you will be okay. You will be okay. And that's big for you to be able to know that I can feel this and still I can be okay. All right. Who else wants to share? Rob, thanks. I see that you dropped your numbers too. So everybody's here. Who else? Anybody else want to share a win? Or you can talk about your low if that's where you want to go today.
I'll share, Kate.
Yeah, thanks.
So, how you brought up, the expectation of falling off the wagon or whatever. I actually had that this week in the sense of the kids got sick. My oldest, who never ever gets sick, got so sick. And today, actually, my lowest number is 5 because I can tell yesterday I was like, oh, this is like coming towards me. And I'm doing all the things to make sure that doesn't happen, to the best of my abilities. But anyway, so there was one day that I missed my journaling, and normally I would be like, oh my gosh, like, why did I do this? And it is interesting because how my brain would work is like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. And it was super late and I can't remember, but I still ended up, even though I didn't journal. So I have a journal and I've been like, I'm just going to show you this. So at the top, I've been checking in every day. And then I make a little section where it says my 5 pillars and what my goals are, like that you and I have discussed about. And then I put a little, because I'm a check mark person, and I check it off if I've done it. And then the check-in that we do every week on our call, I'll do that daily and write those numbers. So I'm tracking them. And even though I didn't journal, I made sure to just write those 5 pillars and like not check off the box, even though it drives me nutty. But then the next day I was like, you know what? I didn't journal and this is why, and it's okay. Like I am here today and, just respecting myself and where I was at instead of beating myself up and just getting mad about it, because not every day is a 10 and not, you know what I mean? Just to accept the highs and the lows and seeing where I'm at and being okay with it. So
Thank you, Kristen. I want you all to know that this is very common. Okay. I've run this self-mastery program many, 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 many times. And it happens without fail that about a month in, a curveball comes in some way. And if you've been one in the past who set a big goal for 2025, and then you've fallen off the wagon, right, by end of February, beginning of March, That's really common, really common. And the process of what we're doing is intentionally created for you to fall off and get the curveball, and knowing that the kids are going to get sick, and knowing that the thing at work is going to come that's, or whatever it is that's more important priority over you, over your self-care, over taking care of you. It happens. If you were already doing it perfectly, you wouldn't be in the mastery program. And even when you graduate from the mastery program, you're going to find yourself saying, hey, Kate, I want to hop back in because I want to revisit this. I want to peel back another layer. I want to recommit. It's part of the process. So the best thing you can do is what you did, Kristen. Just here we are. Okay, I'm here. So I'm going to do what feels good and recommit. Don't quit. Recommit. Always get back on. Always recommit. What it does for your brain is more than I even want to go into right now and explain to you. But there is a process of what it does when it creates that in your brain that will help you with bigger things in your life too. So great job. The numbers today, I want you to all take a moment. Look at your high. Okay? Look at your high. And whatever you're doing there, keep doing it. Okay? It's working. This information is showing you that what you're doing there is working. So celebrate that. Now I want you to look at your low. Okay? Look at your low number. And you can probably look at knowing why that's your low. So in this moment, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that will move that number up? One, just by one. What's one thing you can do? One thing. What is one thing I can do today? Take a deep breath in and exhale. And I want you to write down what you're going to do or how you're going to be. And what you get to remember is that sometimes the easiest, most simple thing you can do is just breathe in and smell the flowers. Exhale and blow out the candles. Literally, just breathe. Breathing. Just slow it down. Take some deep breaths. Yeah, Zadra says her number's often different in the morning and in the afternoon once she's given herself a chance to get grounded and centered. Exactly. Here's the thing. These numbers can change throughout the day. They will change throughout the day. You can expect they will. The check-in is just the moment of time that we decide to pause and look at it and do a check-in and say, where am I? Because how do you make adjustments or changes or shifts in your life if you don't know where you are? And then oftentimes you're at a 10 or a 0 or all over the place before you actually go, something's got to change. So regularly doing check-ins is going to allow you to never get to that 0. If you're at a 0, you probably haven't done your consistent check-ins. So just come back to it if that number's low. Okay, thank you for sharing all that. I want to dive in because there's a lot here today talking about the emotional piece, and I want to give you permission to just be in this process. Be curious, see what comes, notice your emotional body, notice if anything comes, and we're here to process anything as it comes up. You do not have to be positive all the time. How many of you feel like you need to be positive all the time? Yeah, got to be positive all the time. It is perfectly okay, and it's actually our design to be sad or angry or annoyed, frustrated, scared, anxious. Having feelings doesn't make you a negative person. It makes you human. Human experience is to feel it all. So this is why emotional self-care practice and being proactive to let yourself feel is important. And the first thing you need to be able to do is acknowledge your emotions. Just acknowledge it. Don't try to put it away. Don't try to bury it. Don't shame yourself for feeling a certain way. The human experience is to feel all the emotions, okay? All of it. So part of this feeling and getting in tune with your emotions also comes to what do you do with this? What do you do with these feelings? What do you do with this when you feel it? I want to talk specifically about anxiety and anger, okay? They're the two A emotions or two feelings that I like to connect action. If I'm feeling angry, there's something I need to do. I need to create a boundary. Enough is enough. I need to ask for support and help. If I'm angry, I have let something wear me out, back me into a corner. I did not speak up soon enough. I did not stand in my power. And now I'm angry. And usually you're angry at yourself. The situation might have triggered it, but the truth is, what did you do or not do that might have you in self-betrayal? Okay? So if you're angry, well, I said 3 times, I need, and they didn't listen, or it's about the other person or the situation. Listen, anger is usually about your own self-betrayal. And that's a deep one to sit with. But when you do, instead of projecting the anger onto someone else, you bring it back. Why do we want to do that? Because you can't control anyone else. You have 0 control over other people. You can request, you can ask, you can create a boundary, but you have no control. We're reading the book in my membership program, Let Them. You got to let people. You have no control. They're going to do what they do. You can ask, but they're going to do what they want to do. What you have control over is you. So what you can say is, you know what? I'm removing myself from this situation. I'm not doing business with this person anymore. I'm not blocking out time on my calendar anymore because the time isn't respected. Or I'm going to speak up and ask for help. I'm going to make it more clear and not assume that the other person knew that. Can't you look at this? Don't you see that I need help? Can't you? Isn't it obvious? Use your voice. Usually anger is attached to your voice. You don't need to scream. You don't need to yell, but just be aware. What is this anger telling me right now? Another action is tied to anxiety. Now, anxiety and excitement are both on the 2 different sides of the same coin. Anxiety and excitement, okay? So what you get to ask yourself is, woo, am I just excited right now? But it's coming across as anxiety. So let's say you're going to present, you're going to meet a new client, you're going to do something that you've never done before, speak on stage, whatever it might be, launch a new course, whatever. Do something you've never done before. You're feeling a little bit of like a lot around that. Now, is that excitement or anxiety? Ask yourself first. But if it's anxiety, it means something needs to happen, right? How often have you felt anxiety in the morning because you got a list of things you got to get done? You're like, I've got so many things I got to get done today, and I'm feeling anxiety about it. Breathe. It's like, okay. So I'm going to teach you all a tool right now, okay? When you feel anxiety, you're going to want to write this down. When you feel anxiety, I want you to make a list of what has to happen, what you have to do. I have to do this. This is a have to. So it's a have to, a need to do this, and I want to do this. Have to, need to, want to. You go through your list of all the things you feel like you've got to get done that are creating anxiety in your life for today. If you feel any anxiety, or you wake up tomorrow with anxiety, make a list. What do I have to do? What do I need to do? What do I want to do? Because the truth is, the reason you have anxiety is because they are all on your have to. You've got it all on the have to. I have to do this today. I have to do laundry. I have to meet with this client. I have to take the kids here. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to. And that feels overwhelming for you because it is. Because it is. So when you do the have to, the need to, the want to, you can start to put those things in different places and you can say, well, truth is we have enough clothes today. I don't have to do laundry today. I need to, but I don't have to. Or maybe I just want to, but the truth is I could really do it tomorrow. What if you've got a list of 10 people you want to reach out to? And you're like, oh man, I just got a curveball. Something happened. I wasn't expecting it. And I've got all this stuff on my list to do. And I'm supposed to call these 10 people today. Do you have to call them all today? Could you break it up? Could you call 5 today? Could you do the other 5 tomorrow? Could you shift it so that you don't have to call them all and have phone conversations, but instead you could reach out and say, hey, I'd love to connect this week. Let me know when it's good for you. How can you shift and change and give yourself some creative flexibility in what feels like you have to do it? Maybe you just really want to. Maybe you need to. But give yourself permission when you start to feel anxiety to just pause. Okay, anxiety means I got to do, there's action that needs to happen here. But how can I take that over so that it feels like, okay, this feels doable. These are bite sizes. This feels like I can do it. So that process of going through and brain dumping that and getting it out really helps reduce and relieve anxiety almost immediately. Almost immediately, you'll find. It can really relieve the pressure of what you're feeling like you have to, okay? Let's move into feeling emotions. And when I invite you to feel emotions, but you're like, oh no, now's not the time for that. I'm getting ready to, I don't have time to feel this right now. How often does that happen? You feel it coming, right? You're like, oh, not right now, not right now, not right now. Okay. So how do we allow ourselves to feel it so that we can move through it, but we don't, have to do it in that moment? So what you get to do is you get to recognize it. Number one, recognize it. Okay, I'm feeling a thing. I'm feeling this. Breathe. Just take a deep breath and it will bring it down a little bit. And then tell yourself this timing isn't ideal. Okay, I already had something scheduled, or I'm in the middle of my work day, or my children are sitting right here with me and it's just not the best time for this. I'm about to get on a client call, whatever it is, right? Not the right timing. Just recognize what you're feeling. See if you can name it. See if you can name it. And then breathe, and then decide in that moment when you're going to revisit this. Okay. So maybe you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to revisit this on my drive home. I'm going to be in the car in a couple of hours and I'm just going to revisit it on my drive home. Or, I'm going to wait until after dinner, until everything's settled. And then I'm going to give myself a timeout, or I'm going to give myself quiet time. I'm going to let everyone know, hey, I'm going to go take a bath, or I'm going to go meditate, or I'm going to go take a little me time. I call it Kate time. I need a little Kate time. And then I'm going to sit with that for a minute and be like, okay, so what's going on? Like, what am I feeling? And just let yourself kind of process it and remember your breath. Your breath will move you through these emotions. Your breath. We hold on. We literally hold our breath. You're holding your breath and you will automatically feel better. Just notice if you're holding your breath and let that kind of go. So you're going to recognize, and then you're going to recalibrate with breath, and then you're going to revisit it. Okay. The 3 R's for processing emotions. Recognize it, name it. recalibrate, breathe, revisit that day. If you don't, you're going to wake up with it the next day and it's just going to linger. So you can keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, but it's going to bubble up. It'll come back. And this is how you can help yourself not be reactive, but instead be proactive. How many times have you been in a conversation with your significant other and they're saying something and they say, and you did this, or, and when you said this, or, and when you, and you feel, you're like, whoosh, activated. I'm so defensive right now. Like, I feel misunderstood. I feel attacked. I feel like the fingers being pointed at me because they're saying you. How many times do you just feel it? You went from like cool and calm to now flooded with emotion, flooded. So here's an advanced practice if you're ready for it. I'm going to share it with you. If you're not ready for it, that's okay. You can just reach out to me and say, hey, Kate, let's dive deeper on this. I want you to help me with it. I'm happy to do it. When you are in a partnership, whether this is a parent-child, whether this is if you're married, if you're dating, if you're in a romantic, intimate relationship with someone, or it can even be in like a business or a career, something with work, okay? Here we are. One person starts sharing and in their share, it's about you. It's about you, something you did wrong, something you said, something you feel like is triggering or activating you. In this dynamic, whomever spoke first, it's their stage, it's their platform, it's their opportunity to share. Now, this takes a lot of discipline, a lot. You are now the space holder. You are now the space holder for their experience. Very different than you being reactive about what they said. You can absolutely take what they said, and in this moment, this is where you recognize, I didn't like that. I don't like the way it made me feel. I had a big response to it and reaction to it. I'm going to recalibrate and breathe. And I'm going to revisit this. Okay? Let them have their experience, but you get to come back and revisit it. So then when you say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about something, or about a conversation we had earlier, or about something you said earlier. Okay? You're going to revisit it. So now guess what? They get to hold the space. They get to be the space holder for you to have your experience and explain or ask questions about that. When you do this and you don't go through this 3 R's process, they say the thing, you react, and guess what happens? This, and it will happen every time. Conflict, argument, because your emotions are heightened, right? Because you're just like reactive to this feeling, this emotion. It's like, whoa, this is coming up in me and I don't like it. And I need to get it out because you made me feel this way. Really, really harnessing this, again, is a practice. It's a big one. And you have to be in a relationship or partnership with someone that understands this process. So I'm going to invite you to talk to your partner about this so that in advance you can say, hey, I'd like to try something. I noticed that we kind of do this thing where we go back and forth and it gets heated. And I don't want that. I don't want to be reactive. And I'm curious if we can try this new thing where whomever's sharing is the one sharing, the other person gets to be the space holder. And it's what happens. I want you to notice this. It's the giver and the receiver. One of you is showing up in your masculine energy. The other one is showing up in feminine energy. And in communication around emotions, it's a really advanced practice to be able to say, okay, I'm going to be the space holder. It's the hardest one. It is the hardest one because usually what is coming out feels very activating. And so to be able to breathe and stay in that is really big. But if you want deeper connection in your relationships, this is how you do it. This is how you create deeper connection. Because what you've been doing in the past is you come at it, one comes at it, the other one comes at it, and then you do this. And then there's more trauma, there's more hurt, there's more pain, and then you got to come back and repair, which you can do that. You can do that. You can repair. But what if you could be so dialed in to what's happening inside of you that you could use your breath to just let yourself kind of settle and calm that a little bit. Okay. I want to pause and take an opportunity for any comments, any questions before we move on.
Can
Anyone?
you just share? Oh, sorry. Can you
Go.
just share the 3 R's again? Because I was
Yes.
writing it down and
I
it
love it.
wasn't.
Yep. Yeah. So first thing you're going to do is recognize the feeling. What are you feeling? Name it. Okay. Recognize it. What am I feeling? I am feeling mad. I am feeling angry. I'm feeling attacked. I'm feeling like I want to be defensive, right? Whatever you're feeling, just understand, what am I feeling, right? I'm feeling misunderstood. I'm feeling unseen. I'm feeling unappreciated. Whatever it is you're feeling, just notice it. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling like I wasn't included. I'm feeling left out. Just notice, recognize. Okay, recognize, name it. Then you're going to recalibrate. The recalibration is your breath. Literally just inhale, smell the roses. Exhale, blow out the candle. At least once. Okay, recalibrate. It'll just calm you. It'll calm your nervous system a little bit. It'll recalibrate you. It'll settle you a little bit. You might need to do that 3 times. Okay, but at least one. And then the third one is you're going to revisit it. So you just get to tell yourself at that moment, okay, I'm going to come back to this. And if you can get clear on like, I'll come back to this when I'm driving home, or I'll come back to this when I'm in the bathtub, or I'll come back to this later, you want to revisit it. Okay. Because it's come up for a reason, but the timing, right? It's like, oh, it's not the best time to do this right now. Or like this person is saying something and it's creating a reaction, an activation within me. It's creating a lot of emotion. Okay. It's not going to do me any good. I need a minute. I need a minute to like really, really get clear on like what's coming up, what's happening here, understanding, right? The trigger, understanding the activation, understanding. And we're going to get into this, y'all, when we talk about emotional resilience and the Enneagram. If you don't know your Enneagram, I'm going to send you that later in this course, in this program. But this is another thing, because a lot of times these big emotions and why we get triggered, it comes back to like a childhood like a childhood trauma or a childhood thing. And then it's like, oh, I feel unseen. I feel rejected. I feel abandoned. It's like that thing. So the reason why this is empowering is because then you don't become reactive as the little younger version of yourself responding, right? But instead, you can be like, oh, there's a part of me that still feels really unseen. Or it's a part of you, right? It's called parts work. And you can really dive deep into this, but going to the parts of you, or like the deeper parts of it. So that's where that is. Great question, Kristen. Anyone else? Question or comment about this? Okay. In the portal, okay, this is a big one. In the portal for the self-mastery program, I want you to go to the emotional module, okay? There's a practice there that you can work through some of this stuff that's really going to be helpful on your own. It's going to help you dive in. This emotional work is very sacred, and it's very it's kind of private, you know? Because you're trying to figure it out. It's like, I don't know. It's a harder one to process out loud, because it's so feeling, because it's so inward, because it's so sometimes messy, Sometimes it's messy. Okay? Sometimes it's messy. So if you can start learning and let yourself kind of like navigate through this a little bit, then by the time you present it or by the time you talk about it, you've kind of cleaned it up a little bit so that you're not just, right, getting mud everywhere. You're like, okay, I'm still in this, but it's not just like, ugh. So bring it in a little bit and allow yourself to practice the emotional module to go deeper on this. Trust me when I say this, all these feelings are there. Whether you're allowing yourself to process them or feel them, that's up to you. You might find yourself regularly numbing, regularly escaping. I mean, we've been taught not to feel. We've been taught to just feel better. So don't blame yourself. Don't criticize yourself. It just is. But it's awareness, right? It's like, oh gosh, I do this. Ugh. I want to change my emotional state. So I go to a distraction. What's your distraction? Do you just pick up the phone and start scrolling? It's called spiritual bypassing when we don't allow ourselves to actually feel because we think we need to feel good all the time. We think we need to like, one thing that I see frequently is how we rationalize it in our mind of like, well, I should know better. I know that I need to take the high road. I know that I just need to breathe through this. I know that I know that this is my inner child and it's not really who I am today. Okay, great that you know that. That's awesome. Good job. And if you're feeling something, it's coming up for a reason. It's an old thing. Remember how in the beginning of the call, I talked about how if you didn't allow yourself to feel the feeling or feel the emotion, how it got stored and trapped in your body? Sometimes somebody triggers you. It's not even about that. It's not even about that. It's a similar feeling. And so because it's similar, it comes up, but you're like, ooh, this activated it. This person activated it in me because it needs to come out, because it needs to be healed, because it needs to be released. So this emotional work is very intense and it requires a lot of discipline and it's messy and it's okay. It's totally okay. So practice it alone a little bit, go through that module of the emotional one and work with that a little bit. The greatest thing you can do too is journal. If you just write it out, like, and you'll notice sometimes your handwriting will change. When I'm angry or mad or anxious, my handwriting reflects it. And then as I kind of start to calm down, my handwriting shifts a little bit and changes. It's fascinating to watch and see. So just get it on paper. Get it on paper. Get it out. Allow yourself to get it out. And then you're going to feel like you've taken the pressure cooker and just opened the lid. You've opened it a little bit. Okay, all right. Now maybe I'm ready to speak, but maybe just don't start speaking right away. See if you can breathe and write, breathe and journal. Another thing I love to do, go on a walk. There's nothing better for me than when I'm feeling a lot to just move. When you physically move your body, you'll physically move through the emotions. And what happens is clarity starts to come. It's like, okay, I'm literally processing through my physical body moving. It moves my mind. It moves my feelings. Now it's 10 o'clock. The last thing I'm going to say to you is, if you're feeling something, notice, what was I just thinking? If you're feeling something, notice, what was I just thinking? Because when you can take it from the feeling to the mind, what was I just thinking? You're going to find out if you're in story and what you're going to connect the dots. Well, I'm feeling attacked. I'm feeling unseen. I'm feeling misunderstood. Okay, great. Let's go all the way back, right? And start to break it down. So just notice this connection between the feelings and the thoughts. Okay. The time is up. Thank you so much for being here. Let's keep this conversation going on Instagram in our group chat. Okay. I know a lot's going to come up this week, so just be ready for it. You might be like, oh my gosh, the floodgates have opened. Thanks a lot, Kate. You're welcome. I'm here for you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. See you next week.